Good afternoon, everyone. So happy you all are here. Let me say hi to everyone. Mona Lisa, Bridget, Tiff, Pollyanna, Donnie, Purple Knights, hello, Penelope, Maido, Luda, Emergency Me, Infamous Truth Teller, hello, haven't seen you in a while. Tiny Tree, hello, Cat, Hakuna. I'm so happy to see everyone. Lisa, Randy. So we've had kind of Angie, hello. We've had kind of an interesting couple of days. Hello, Grumpy Bear. So I thought we would do something a little different. Your main girl, Air 404. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. But thank you guys for being here. I thought we would do something a little bit different. Just to kind of break away from some of the drama and stuff. I thought we would kind of just share with each other what brought all of us to the true crime community. Like, was it just something we were interested in, like reading books? Or, like I always used to read like People magazine and they would do the crime story every month. That was always pretty cool to me. I was a big Nancy Grace fan too. I used to watch that every night and drive my husband crazy. So I thought I would also like share my story. Some people have heard it, but I wanted to share my story about what really made me decide to go back to school and get a degree in criminal justice. Um, like I said, like I've always had an interest in crime. I'm a nosy person by nature. Um, I'm very observant. I like to really look at things for what they are, try to, rationalize things in my head. If I have a disagreement with someone, I always try to, and it's not easy, like, because I'm also a very stubborn person and I always like to be right and things like that. But I try to take a step back and look at how they're reacting to me, what's upsetting them. I try to think of the things that I know about them, as far as their personality, things that might have happened in their life that cause them to react certain ways, right? I think it's always a good idea to just try to understand people. Welcome, Bridget, to membership. Thank you. Um, I just think that when you're trying to have like conflict resolution and things like that, having an understanding about people and their behaviors and personalities is always a good thing to have. So, whenever you think of true crime, like the one in any investigation, one of the first questions usually, like, either right off the bat, if they know that someone's guilty, whether they confess or not, or after they get a confession, the question is, why'd you do it? So that's how this stream got that title. I want to know, why did you do it? Why did you start following true crime? What got you into true crime on YouTube? Because this is like a whole new arena. Who would have ever thought that we would have this amazing tool, to use? And this was brought up the other night on someone's stream. And you guys, my mods, let's try to use initials, everyone in the chat, when it comes to like creators. I want to kind of keep this on topic. I don't want this to turn into a bash fest or anything like that. I think we've had enough of that. Christmas is coming, so let's just be jolly and kind. But it was, and you guys, I'm stuffy and sniffly. It was like in the 40s last weekend, and now it's in the 70s. So my sinuses are not my best friend right now. So, along with why did you do it? You expect the criminal or the perpetrator or whatever, to just give you a direct answer as to, well, they made me mad, so I beat the crap out of them, or they were cheating on me, so I decided to take them both out. Well, when you don't have direct answers like that, we all know you have to use your critical thinking skills. That comes with everything, not just crime. It can be any type of conflict, it can be anything that you need an answer for. So, getting back to basics, the definition of critical thinking is objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Now, I've noticed that us using our critical thinking lately, it's kind of ticked a lot of people off, right? We go on streams and in chats and we weigh everything out and discuss theories and judgments and opinions, and then people jump all over us when all we're doing is using our critical thinking skills. Um, what drew me to crime is my mom. I'm not going to say that she was like psychic or gifted or anything like that. She had a best friend when she was younger. My mom's no longer here. Thank you, infamous truth teller, for this super chat. I appreciate it. Um, I was MIA for a little bit after the fundraiser thing. I kind of just took a step back and observed. But yeah, I've been around. I've definitely been around, just quiet, working on a few things, getting through school. So my mom had a best friend who used to babysit my brother and then myself when I was a tiny infant. I don't remember this woman at all. Her husband worked on an offshore oil rig, and he was always gone. Well, while he was gone away for a few weeks, someone broke into this woman's house. Luckily, my brother and I weren't there. Um, but he broke into her house and he essayed her, and then he killed her, and then he set the house on fire. It was a total loss. The house was destroyed. This was way back in the late 70s. So, there wasn't like the whole, it was longer response time, but whatever. The house burned to the ground. My mom, like a couple of days after it happened, she had a dream. And in her dream, she was talking to her best friend, and her best friend was able to tell her details of what happened that night, and she told my mom who they needed to look at. Not the person's exact name, but just the direction of where this person might be and who it could be. Well, my mom, it freaked her out, and so my dad took her to the police station, and she told the police all of this information. And I'm going to be honest, they kind of looked at her like she was nuts. Like, was she a part of it? Does she know firsthand who did this? But they went through their investigation and they found out that it was a guy that her husband worked with who was supposed to be on, the oil rig with him at the time, but for whatever reason he skipped that trip. And it was a guy, I guess he had just like had a little obsession with her for a while. And I remember growing up, my mom would tell me that story periodically, and I've had situations like that. I've had a couple of friends in high school that, one was killed, and, just little things like that. And then following, the big national cases, I was always interested in that. So time goes by, and, I did When I was younger, at one point, I wanted to be a detective. Life happened. I had new interests, new, things came along, marriage, children, things like that. And I put it off. I had a few other careers along the way. Well, now I'm at a point that I can dedicate time to school. And it was kind of, just like a split decision. I had been thinking about it, and then my brother-in-law was killed. And it happened in March of 2020. He had just turned, let's see, 38. Yeah, he had just turned 38. And he had, a rough time as an adult. He had his addictions and afflictions and situations, and bad choices. We all have our things that we go through. But he lived with my husband and I for a while, and then, he kind of bounced back between us and his mom. And we finally, said, enough's enough. You're going to go back and you're going to get help. You're going to go to treatment, and we'll be here for you when you come out. Everything's going to be fine. And we really thought it was. We could tell he was doing good. Um, they would go visit him and things like that. And, we just really had a lot of hope that he was finally going to be okay. Well, he left the treatment early and we freaked out. We were expecting the worst. And what he wanted to do, he was always a very spiritual person. He loved God, and he just he had the biggest heart. Like, this time of year is hard around my house because he loved Christmas. He was our gift wrapper. Like, if we needed something wrapped, we would send it to him. So we definitely miss him in that department, but we miss him in other ways too. It's just not the same. So when he was killed, he had only been back home for 3 weeks. In fact, it was like exactly 3 weeks. He decided when he left treatment that, he didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. But what he wanted to do, he wanted to help other people who were just in a hopeless position, who just didn't feel like they mattered, like their life was worth anything. So he decided that he was going to go live on the street. He chose to not have a roof over his head. He made a friend, this older guy who had, knowledge of what it was like to be homeless, and he helped him along the way. So that's what he spent his time doing. He would minister to people and share the Bible and, just point out scriptures to them and just kind of, encourage them. And he would just do anything for anyone. Well, somewhere along the line, him and this other guy parted ways. So he was kind of on his own, and he did it on his own for a little bit. But then he started thinking, maybe the best thing is to come home. So we got through Christmas and everything, and then my husband and his brother's birthday was in March. So they celebrated their birthdays, and then it was a rainy night. It was a Monday night, I remember, and it was like when COVID first hit and they started closing the schools down and everything. So he needed to go get cigarettes. And at the time, my mother-in-law and him had an apartment close to a gas station. It was probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And he said, I'm going to go get cigarettes. And my mother-in-law says, well, why don't you let me drive you? And he's like, no, mom, I'll be fine. It's okay. I like to walk. And he did. He liked to walk and clear his head and just, listen to his music. He was always listening to like contemporary Christian music, it kept him grounded. And he made that walk to the store. And I apparently, while he was there, there was a kid, maybe early 20s, who just looked to be having a rough time. And so my brother in law spent his last few minutes on this earth, well, some of the last few minutes. Hello, Nay. I saw you come in. Hey, Poppy. Um, he spent his last few minutes sitting down and speaking to this kid in the cold rain. It was so cold at that time. Sitting on the curb at the gas station, and he put his arm around him and, just told him, it's gonna be okay. You're important in this world. I don't know exactly what he was saying to the kid. The only reason I know that happened, I'll skip ahead a little bit. The only reason I know that happened is because there was a witness who saw it happen, and I'll tell you how that information got back to me. So he finishes at the gas station and he walks home. He literally was in right almost directly in front of the entrance to the complex. And it's a dark, kind of curvy country road. Like I said, it was raining. And a kid, a 17-year-old kid who had been drinking, hang on, the kid hit him with his truck. And he apparently was going pretty fast because he knocked my brother-in-law out of his shoes. And the way he landed, I thank God that he landed that way because we know he didn't lay there and suffer. And I'm so grateful for that because the kid then proceeded to drive home and go to sleep. He left my brother-in-law in the cold rain, laying in the middle of the street alone, and he died alone. And my mother-in-law was one building away from him in bed and had no idea what was going on. The reason she didn't know is because when the police got there, when he went and got his driver's license, it had the street address, but they didn't include the apartment number on his ID. So it wasn't until the next morning when it was a good 13 hours later that once the complex office opened up, investigators were able to go to the office and they knew him. So they were able to find out which apartment. And I'll never forget that morning. My kids were home, the schools were closed. Um, my dad was still alive at the time, but that I couldn't go around him. My dad had health problems. He had COPD and stuff like that. So just getting the common cold could have killed him. So all I could do, my mother-in-law called me and she's just this, I'll never forget the sound in her voice. And she told me what happened. And I just like went into, caretaker mode. I called and told my dad, look, I have to go do this. She was by herself. The police were waiting with her until I got there. And I told my dad what happened. I said, look, just please call and check on my kids in a little bit. My kids are older, they're 19, 17, and 8. They were a couple of years younger then, but old enough to be alone. and just but it was a bad situation. I had to pick, do I stay I have my kids here. I can't take them around my mother-in-law. She's a COVID nurse. So the last thing I needed to do was to take my whole entire family around someone who is just with COVID all day long. So it was a tough spot to be in. And I get there and they tell me that this kid hit him and went home and went to bed. And my jaw just hit the floor. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, do you have him? Do you have this kid in custody? And they said, yes, he turned himself in. Well, at first I thought, there was a glimmer of hope. This kid can't, he just freaked out. He's a kid. No, he turned himself in because one of the people that lived in the complex tried to come home that night that it happened, and they weren't letting anyone in or out. So naturally, what does she do? She gets on Facebook and she, makes a post about, oh my gosh, I can't even get into my house because someone was killed right out in front. They were hit by a car. She just told the whole story. Well, she happens to be friends with the kid that hit my brother-in-law's mother. So it got back to her. Now, when he got home, apparently he told his grandparents and his mother, out here, these 17-year-old boys, they all have these big trucks, usually they're lifted and they're just fancy. Well, I know 17-year-old boys, and if they're driving some big fancy truck, he told his family he thought he hit a sign. Well, I'm not buying it because there's only one sign in that area and it's about 4 feet off the road. Most 17-year-old boys around here, if they hit something in their big fancy truck, they're going to stop and look at the damage. They want to know what's happened to their truck. That's their whole life, it's their chick magnet. Well, when his mom saw the Facebook post that someone had gotten hit by a car, naturally she goes and asks him, you need to take me where you hit this sign. And he could have lied. He could have taken her anywhere, but he didn't. He took her right to the spot where he hit my brother-in-law. And she put two and two together. And at that point, he didn't know that he had killed him. Well, he found out. So Mama did the right thing. She took him to the police station and, he's like, look, I'm here because I hit someone. And the police asked him, well, why are you turning yourself in? You would think that, he would say, well, I wanted to do the right thing. I didn't realize the extent of what had happened, the magnitude of it. I had had a couple of beers with some friends. No, he told the investigator that he's turning himself in because his mom made him. So that did not make me happy at all. But then again, I can't. He's a 17-year-old kid. What? They don't know what to say in a situation like that. Um, so come to find out, the police station he turned himself into just happens to be across the street from a Napa auto parts store that his family has owned for over 40 years. Well known in this little community. Um, yeah, it was a bad situation from the jump. We were kind of fighting an uphill battle. They charged the kid with felony hit and run, failure to report an accident. He didn't get charged with vehicular manslaughter. Um, Nothing hit and run resulting in death. None of the alcohol stuff was ever brought in to the situation. And the kid knew enough to know that if he went home and waited, that a BAC wouldn't matter, a blood alcohol test. So, but he wasn't smart enough to realize that he still had a cooler in the back of his big fancy truck that had there wasn't any ice left in it, but the water itself was ice cold and there was beers in it. Also in the cab of his truck, he had just like all kinds of alcohol related stuff. Like his gear shift handle was like some kind of, I think maybe either Crown or Jack Daniels. I mean, just all kinds of little emblems and different decorations and crap that, you can put in your truck that promotes alcohol. So they weren't able to determine that he was drunk. Of course, his grandparents got him the pit bull of all defense attorneys who's actually specializes in DUI cases. I researched the crap out of his attorney and he's well known. I mean, he was well known back when my mom was alive working as a paralegal. Um, and here with juvenile cases, they move fast, very fast. They're indicted, they have a hearing. I mean, everything just, it was a lot. We're planning a funeral now for my brother in law, who my kids have two uncles. They have my brother and they have my brother in law. Well, my brother, lives in another state, so he doesn't see them that often. My brother in law, though, is a very important part of their lives. Daughter, who's now 17, she was 15 at the time, was devastated. My little one, she still called him Yaya at the time. She couldn't say his name when she was really little, so she called him Yaya. And, and then I had my son, and it was just a lot. So planning the funeral when you're in the beginning stages of COVID and we're still so unsure of, what the world's going to end up like, that was tough. We had to plan the funeral. We were only allowed 6 people at the funeral home, including the employees that worked there. Like, we literally had too many, all we could do was a short, like, little viewing and, like, memorial service, and then it was straight to the cemetery. Well, people that worked at the funeral home had to go outside just so our family could rotate and go in and be with him. So we got through all that, and then the trial stuff started. The victims advocate people were reaching out to us, about all the amazing services. And we'll touch on this a little bit since this is where I'm at. But you guys, a victim advocate is not what we've been seeing around these YouTube streets lately. So let's not confuse the two. I didn't have someone barreling up my driveway threatening to hit people if they came on my property. No one was taking me out to lunch. No one was making jokes with me on the internet. You know, they did things like funeral expense reimbursements, stuff like that. That's what they did. And it was like a roller coaster, but nothing made sense to me. I looked at the scene and I thought, okay, how did this kid think that he hit a sign? There was no signs around. I got out and I walked to the side of the road. We we were able to find my brother-in-law's last footprints in the dirt on the side of the road. I even got in my car on a rainy night and I drove the route he took in the rain, same time of night, with about the same lighting, and I videotaped it on my phone and just basically reenacted the ride home, the ride from the gas station to the point of impact, and nothing added up to me. Well, because this kid was also, like, an athlete at his school, he had my kids go went to a different school at the time, but they had the same friends in common through sports activities. You know how kids are, they get on Snapchat, Facebook, all of that stuff, Instagram, and everything spreads like wildfire. And it got out what happened, and people started bringing me information saying, "Look, this kid was drinking that night. He was at this person's house, and I know for a fact I've got videotape of him drinking and him drunk and things like that." And so I was like, "Oh, man." So I started getting, things in writing, recordings of phone calls people were trying to get for me. And I handed it all over to the DA. Like, I had a good relationship with the district attorney. My mother-in-law and I went and talked to him a few times. I gave him all the information I had, and I just stayed on it. I kept my ears open. I started listening for things, trying to figure out what was going on, but there was nothing I could do because we did not have that blood alcohol test. If we would have had that, we could have gotten him, and he would have been held accountable for that. So because I conducted that little investigation all on my own, and because of what the injustice of that situation did to our family, I mean, it's really impacted our family a lot. My children suffer. I suffer. My husband, I don't know that he'll ever be the same again. Him and his brother were very close. They were Irish twins. They were only a year and 7 days apart. Or 6 days. I mean, they were very close in age. And yeah, Hakuna, it varies. But yes, you have a very small window to charge someone with a DUI, and because of this kid's ties in the community, they never pursued it. I would have had to had a picture or something with a beer in his hand, basically, or for him to admit it. Now what people get confused about, and I think that that's what's happening with Summer's case, people get confused and think that because they can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, or if someone is, they're deemed innocent, that they are. That's not the case. Just because they don't get convicted of a crime, that just means there's not enough proof. In my eyes, and I think even in the judge's eyes, we know that kid was drunk. We know it, but we couldn't prove it. So he got off. Now, what made me the most angry, we had to do our victims impact statement. And I remember, like it took a lot that I was able to show this kid grace and mercy. And I was able to look at it from a mother's point of view. My son was the same age at the time. And so I was able to kind of put myself in her position and think, my gosh, what if this was my kid? But she did the right thing. I don't agree with, she knew that her kid drank. She knew that his dad would give him alcohol when they would go hunting. In fact, that's how she tried to explain the cooler in the back of the kid's truck. She said it was in there from, like, the day before or a couple of days, like, over that weekend from when they went hunting, and that's why the cooler of beer was in there. Well, no, the water was ice cold. Second of all, you don't send your 17-year-old kid off hot rodding around town with a cooler that you know has beer in it. That's just irresponsible parenting. So in my victim's impact statement, I told this kid, that one moment in time does not define who you are. What defines you is how you take this situation and you grow from it and you apply it to everything else in your life from that point forward. And thank you, true crime commentary. I appreciate it. That's that's where my heart will always be, is with the victims, and it's because of this situation that happened in my life that makes me just really go all in for victims. But in the impact statement, I told him, I said, I can forgive you, but use this. Be bold. Next time you're with a group of your friends and you see someone who's been drinking and they want to go get behind the wheel of a car, I want you to remember this day having to look at this victim's family, my family, and I don't know. I've seen him driving around. He has a new truck now. But because we couldn't use alcohol in the charges, it was brought up in court. We talked about it, but the judge always shut it down. He was like, "Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that." Well, for someone who didn't want to talk about that, you know what he sentenced him to? You better sit down and brace yourselves because y'all are all going to be upset. This kid got 60 days unsupervised, well, outpatient, drug and alcohol counseling. He had to go to AA meetings. That's what he had to do for 60 days. Probably just like 2, 3 a week. He didn't have to go every day. He didn't have to go to a treatment center and go for like hour-long classes. He had to get a piece of paper signed that he was at a meeting. Well, I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to an AA meeting before. Um, but you basically walk in and you find whoever's leading the meeting while everyone's getting their coffee, and you have them initial or sign your piece of paper from the court saying that you were there. You can duck out before the meeting ever even starts. So he basically had no consequences. Yes, game on, I can see you. Um, so the punishment did not fit the crime at all. He took someone's life. He took my husband's best friend. He took my mother-in-law's only other child. He took my children's uncle. He took my friends. I mean, my brother-in-law and I fought like cats and dogs 90% of the time, but he was still my family. And now this kid who had no consequences whatsoever is back out in the world, and he turned 18 while we were waiting for the court date. They could have charged him as an adult if they would have stuck some more harsh charges on him, but they didn't do that. They charged him as a juvenile because he was 17 when it happened. Um, Now the sad thing is, and I don't know if it's cosmic justice, it's karma, I don't know. Exactly 1 month to the day that he killed my brother-in-law, his own father was killed in a motorcycle accident. Yes, emergency manslaughter, and he got AA meetings, but the thing is he didn't even get charged with manslaughter. felony hit and run. That's all I got. And it's probably off his record now. So at that point, I knew what my purpose was. I was able to take how my family was feeling and the devastation and the way it changed us. And I channeled that and I just immediately enrolled in school because that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a death investigator. Um, but I'm also taking enough classes that I'll have some extra certifications for different specialties. After I get finished with this and graduate, then I plan on getting a multi-state license for private investigation. I don't want any families to ever suffer the way we have, the way Aaron Key's family has, the way Josh Bohannon's family has, the way all of us suffer over Summer and Xavier, when we found out what his fate was, Monkey, all the little kids that are missing, um, all the adults who, because they've made poor choices in life or they're not the most upstanding citizens because they have an addiction, that is an illness. It's a treatable illness. And sadly, these days, a lot of people are not addicted just, because they were recreational users or something. They're addicted to different medications because they're prescribed them, for things that they have going on. And then next thing you know, they have a problem. Ugh, thank you, emergency me. Thank you, Levi. I really appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you for all that you do in the community. I think it takes all of us, right? Like, when you go back to critical thinking, it really does take all of us. I'm not in this alone. Nobody's in this alone. I depend on all of you. Not only do you get here and listen to me babble and tell stories, but like you guys really put your heart and souls into these cases too. We couldn't do half the things we do without you guys helping research and listening and noticing things. But in my opinion, this is where it has to stop. These cases have got to get equal treatment. It doesn't matter if someone has an addiction to something. When they go missing, they matter too. That is still someone's brother, husband, cousin, nephew, sister, aunt, mother, father, they matter to someone. And I want to be the type of investigator who views them as a person. There's a fine line that they teach you, you just kind of you don't want to become too emotionally invested. I think, a lot of us are emotionally invested in Summer, right? Who couldn't be? That sweet little baby face, and there's just no reason she should be gone, right? She should be getting excited for Santa to come and all of that fun stuff, the Christmas magic that a 5-year-old has. It just shouldn't be this way. In situations like this, they're under investigated, if at all. But 9 times out of 10, if it's just a missing adult who has a criminal history or an addiction or an alcohol issue, then they don't take it seriously. They do not put the time and the effort and the resources into it. And I am taking a vow right here in front of all of you. I'm going to be a different type of investigator. I'm not going to stop. until I can make something make sense because this is what our world has come to. In the grand scheme of things, we can't take any things with us when we leave this earth. All we have is our relationships and the way we treat other people. And I think that people across the board, when they are just a victim, they deserve the same treatment as everyone else. I know in the beginning of Summer's case, people said, oh, well, they're just not, it's because they're poor. No, and we're not going to get too much into it because I have a whole nother stream planned for that. It's not because they're poor that everyone looks at them the way they do. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But that is how I just decided I'm going to be a change in this world as far as investigation goes. Um, and my ultimate dream is, God willing, I want to have a nonprofit similar to Cold Case Foundation, um, but it's going to be called Joshua's Hope because my brother-in-law's name was Josh, and I want to partner with other investigators or, people who are retired or just do it freelance on the side, all kinds of resources, and just have like one hub. Because, like in Aaron Key's case, we need to have him exhumed. There's a petition out there. If one of my mods has the link to that petition, you guys sign this petition. We need to have Aaron exhumed because time is running out. And he did not take his own life. He was killed. If you're not familiar with his case, there's some videos on my channel, and then I'll be doing an update with his mom soon. But there's a lot of corruption and cover up in that case. I don't want any family to have to go through that. No, people should be able to lay their loved ones to rest and try to put the pieces back together and get through life without them. They should never sit here in limbo thinking, okay, if just this one thing would have been done differently, we would have had some closure. And they'll never be complete healing, but you can get to a point where it's almost like conclusion. A happened, it resulted in B. Everything went through the proper channels and procedures, and C is the conclusion, and this is where we start to move forward. You can't ever move forward completely when there's so many what ifs in a situation when it comes to something like that. When you have someone just ripped out of your life in an instant through no fault of their own, that's a hard thing to reconcile in your mind. And it's hard to trust the people that are charged with, like, we pay these people's salaries, right? We pay law enforcement, we pay investigators, we pay the medical examiners, we pay all of these people's salaries with our tax dollars. So do your job. You take an oath to protect and serve. And I intend to honor that oath when I take it. I intend to put my whole heart in it. And if the day ever comes that I can't do that, that's the day that I'll walk away. The cases that I talk about on my channel, that's why I don't do so many at a time, is because the cases I go for are the ones that have corruption and the cover ups and just, I don't know, for some reason, I like walking in the messes and trying to clean them up. Like, I like a challenge, and those are the cases that are a challenge for me. Summer's case is a challenge. Aaron's case is a challenge. My brother-in-law's case was a challenge because it didn't get the treatment it deserved. So, in a nutshell, that is what brought me to true crime. What brought me to true crime on YouTube is I was like getting bored with craft videos because I'm a crafty person too now. I seriously made a fall tree out of a toilet plunger. So, yeah, don't doubt my crafting abilities. Um, and then I stumbled upon Bailey Sarian. I also like to do makeup. At one time, way back in the day, I was an assistant manager at Glamour Shots. Do you guys remember Glamour Shots? Oh my gosh. I lived in Florida at the time, and I actually did all the makeup for the Carolina Panther, or not the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleaders for their headshot cards. Um, so yeah, that's what I used to do once upon a time. So I stumbled upon Kendall Ray and Bailey Sarian, and I got, all into Christian Andriacchio case. And then I stumbled upon the man we do not speak of in this chat. Um, and at first I thought, he's a little unhinged, but he seems to have his heart in the right place. Boy, did I find out quick that that was wrong. Um, is What a Man's Magazine? Glamour Shots? No, Glamour Shots is a place that you could go get all fixed up and get your 80s, poofy hair and your feathered boas and stuff, and they would like take pictures of you like you were doing a photo shoot. So it's not a man's magazine. Um, so oh, that was a funny question. I've heard lost my train of thought. So Christian Andriacchio case, I got really involved in that, and spoke to his family a couple of times. And I was like, man, this can't keep happening, these cases. Um, oh no, you're fine, Game On. I thought it was that question made me giggle. It's not a big deal. Because it kind of does sound like a man's magazine. So Christian Andriacchio case. That broke my heart because I am like thousands of miles away just looking at pictures from the scene and reading reports and things like that. And I could tell just like that didn't go down the way they said it did. So that started getting me pumped up, and I'm registering for classes and stumbled upon the guy we don't speak of, which that led me to AB, and then the rest is history. Here I am. So, yes, when I approach these cases that I hear about, and I have a long list, you guys, of stuff to come. I mean, there's a lot of cases I want to work on and report on and get your guys' opinion on. That's the thing. This is like a group activity as far as I'm concerned. We all have information and opinions and theories to bring to the table. So I love our little true crime community. I love what it used to be more. We've had a few growing pains lately, and it seems like the hits just keep coming. So, how do we get back to where we once were? I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of chat together. I'm going to drop a link. If anyone wants to come up, let's talk, let's get back to basics and share with everyone if you'd like about what drew you into true crime. Was it a personal situation that you experienced? Was it just, you liked mystery novels when you were younger? I just thought we would have a little lighthearted um fun. Let me drop the link in chat. I took a little longer than what I wanted to tell my story, but So the link's on if someone wants to hop up. And in the meantime, like I really think that we all need to like drill it in our heads. Critical thinking, critical thinking. I think it could save a lot of the problems that we have in our community. There is also, when it comes to criminology, there's no one way of doing it. There is different aspects like that goes with criminology. There's, you have a classical criminologist, sociological, conflict theory. All of those theories have to do with criminology, and they're all different in the way you look at things. Like a classical theory, they choose um they choose to just look at the crimes that are committed, and the behavior can be changed as long as there's consequences and punishment. It's very black and white, easy peasy. Well, the positivist theory, they're more scientific. They use scientific methods and they look at systemic human behavior. Is the fact that people are committing crimes, is it a product of their social, biological, psychological? Are there economic forces, that cause someone to commit the crimes? Um, Sociological theory, that's basically, what in society is kind of pushing people to do that, like neighborhoods and things like that. And then you have conflict theory. Is there something going on interpersonally that shapes a person's behaviors? Or is it causing them, or like, now this is a good one, and I want you guys to think about this because I'm not going to elaborate too much, but take what I'm about to say and, think on it for a little bit. In conflict theory, there's, a little category. Those with social power will use that to justify their crimes if it will further themselves. Does that make sense to you guys? So you guys just think about that. And if you want to Google conflict theory, there's lots of amazing articles about it. And then I have a whole other stream where we're going to do like, you know, true crime 101, like investigation 101. We're going to like just talk about the different methodologies that investigators use, things that I've learned. I want to share that information with all of you free. I'm not going to charge. We're not running a scammy course here. And that way, we can start new year, new new community, and just really start working together as a team. Emergency me's going to come in. Hello.
Hey, girl.
How are you?
I'm good. So, my story is personal
Okay.
and it's triggering, but it's mine.
Well, we're here. I'm here for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine telling it.
Okay.
Um, I don't talk about it often.
Mhm.
Um, uh, when I do, it's for groups.
Okay.
Uh, as most of you know, I'm a nurse.
Mhm.
Um, I got I became a nurse for a very specific reason. Um, when I was a kid, uh, my biological father, he murdered my mother. in front of me when I was 6.
Oh, wow.
So, um, what happened was my biological father was abusive to my mom. She left him and tried to establish a relationship, keep a relationship with me and him. Unfortunately, he wasn't, and I didn't know this until later on in my life, but he wasn't very interested in having a relationship with me. The only reason he was interested at all was because he was still interested in my mother. So he kept a relationship with that because he was obsessed with my mom. So when I was 6, he we had went to lunch, and uh, this was like our arranged thing. So we had went to lunch, and um, my mom had said to him that I was old enough now that she didn't need to be there anymore, that these visits could go on without her, that I was old enough that we could do daddy daughter time, basically, without her being involved. She was basically just tired of his crap, honestly. Um, well, that was the end of his time with her. So we ended up going, and there was an argument that ensued during that time. And I was sick. I'm 6. I don't really remember the conversation. I just remember them arguing. Well, we left from the restaurant to his apartment complex. And I remember his apartment complex because he had a like a jungle gym out, like a playground outside of his apartment. And we ended up being in the apartment, and the argument continued, and which is where he ended up murdering her in front of me. I was supposed to be watching TV, um, but she screamed the whole time for him not to touch me. He did, and he we left her there at his apartment, and we went on the run. He took me and went on the run, um, and then proceeded to sell me to his friends, and drugs and money. For 7 years, I lived that life of that until I was rescued.
Wow. My
And
heart is just like breaking for you. I couldn't imagine.
don't, and I mean that in all sincerity, because so many people in this life are tragically brought into these situations. Kids that are, and this is why I am involved in what I'm involved with,
Right.
because there's so many kids and so many people that get trafficked And there are not enough organizations that deal with trafficking. And there are some phenomenal organizations out here that do it, but there's not enough. There's not enough local organizations. There's not enough things. And I'm not going to get into my opinions of Summer on that. Um if I feel if she has or feel if she hasn't. But regardless, if you feel if she has or you feel if she hasn't, my ultimate goal with every community, your local chapters, your local law enforcement, what are you doing to help kids in your area? And that's where I come in, because not only am I a nurse, but I went to school to be a sane nurse. Some places call them, and I don't know if anybody knows what a sane nurse is, but a sane nurse is a SA nurse. Okay, they deal with, and I'm a forensically trained nurse. So what I do is I do SA exams. That means I deal directly with police. And I've done this. I've been a nurse for 22 years. So many children come through my doors where I have to do exams on them. And that's not because their parents are bringing them. That's because they're being found and police are bringing them. Other organizations are bringing them. I've heard story after story after story after amazing story of survivors. And there are not enough organizations of aftercare for these children, because these kids come back into society and they don't have any support systems for the lifestyle that they just left. And I lived that life for 7 years. And anyone who thinks that's a cakewalk, that life doesn't live with you for the rest of your life, is out of your mind. I came back into my life at 13. And I was so self-destructive, completely manipulative of my own life. I tried everything I could to do everything wrong because I didn't care, want anything, anybody. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't care to trust anybody. I didn't care to trust me. I hated me. Forever, I hated me. Much less anybody else. There wasn't two F's in this world I would have gave for nobody. I was very fortunate to be placed in home where I was given unconditional love, and I hated them. I hated them, everybody. And they did nothing but greatness for me. Um, and oh, thank you so much for all the kind words. I appreciate it. But you and I and it's and I'm a grown woman now. I'm grown. I know my self-worth now. You know, I made something of my life. I became somebody and I'm strong now. But the life of these kids, they commit suicide. They don't they get back into life and they don't want to live life. They go to drugs. They go to they they go to everything but love. They don't want it. They don't trust it. They've been lied, they've been manipulated, they've been tore apart, tore down, tore apart, destroyed, piece by piece by piece. I was my biological father when when he was arrested, he didn't even get to he didn't even get to a jail. I mean, he got to a jail, but he didn't get to a judge or jury. He committed suicide because he was a coward. But my situation is a rare situation. I'm a one percenter. I'm a one percenter. 800 million kids, 800,000 kids go missing. 1%. I'm a 1%. I get trafficked. It doesn't happen to everybody. And I got found.
That's amazing in itself.
Yeah. We're talking, you know, and I'm not a headline and I'm not a story. And I'm not I'm not a Kristen Smart. You won't find my name in a headline. You won't find me like that. I went unnoticed. I went undocumented like that. I'm not a headline. I'm a normal person with a normal life. And a lot of these kids are. They're normal, everyday kids. I didn't come from a trailer park. I didn't come from the backwoods of nobody. I didn't come from nothing. I came from a good family. I just came from a bad person. No history of nothing. He was just a jealous man who wanted my mom and couldn't have her. No previous history, no nothing. It happens to every walks of life. Everybody. It can happen to anybody. But the thing is, it's rare.
It's good that you're able to take your experience and channel it into. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys, if it's noisy. I'm outside and the guy across the street is repaving his driveway, I think. But it's good that you can take your experience and channel it into something positive. Like I've listened to you speak on, numerous panels and like I don't know, it's people that experience trauma and things like that. And we all have levels of trauma in our life, right? Some of them,
Ab-
might not be crime related, but
Absolutely. We all come from something. We all come from a past. And I'm, and under no circumstances is my past any more important than anybody else's. Mine's just mine. Mine affected me and not in, it's no more important than anybody else's. Yours affected you, and it affected you in your way. So that makes it yours and it's personal to you. And it's so important. I'm not special. I'm not special. I'm not important. My personal situation is mine. But under no circumstances that give me any right to play a pity card or a personal, you know, victim card. I tried that a long time ago. I tried it. I came back at 13 and I tried to play the pity party me. And I tried to play the all of that kind of crap. It didn't get me anywhere in life. It didn't get me anywhere. It got me a whole lot of nowhere. I got no grades in school. I got nowhere. I got me in a whole lot of trouble. Didn't get me anywhere. You know what got me somewhere? Getting a fire underneath my butt, get my act right, getting my head on straight, getting some self worth and self respect. That got me a lot of places. Giving a damn about me. That got me a lot of places. Saying, get the hell up. If you don't start caring about you, nobody's going to care about you. I know my self worth. I know what I bring to the table every day. I know that. And I'm not vain and I'm not beyond my means. But nobody's going to walk over me again. Nobody's going to treat me like
Right.
crap again. Nobody's going to take me for granted again. And it's not like people don't. I mean, I'm loyal to a fault. To a fault, I'm loyal. But I learned my lessons quick. But you matter. You matter. Every single one of the people in this room, you matter. And you better learn yourself. And don't let these people run all over you. You better start thinking for yourself. You better start thinking
Right.
smart.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like what I was saying about, critical thinking. You apply those skills to everything, not just when it comes to solving crimes, when it comes like with conflicts in our community, let's pull out those critical thinking skills and look at things like for what they are and, go find the answers. We just, I've seen a lot of people just jump on whatever they hear and, accept it at face value when it's just not that way. And it sucks because a lot of this conflict and, these problems could have been avoided. It really could have. So
Absolutely. This is, I mean, and if I start getting on any of those topics, any of those topics,
yeah, we'll save that
I
for
will,
another
I
day.
will start saying things that I probably shouldn't say. But my biggest thing is use both sides of your brain. Think it all the way through. Don't
Right.
stop at the part where you go, I'm going to run with that. Think it, think it, think it through. Use your real life skills. Like, put yourself in that position. What would I do?
Definitely. Yes, for
I
sure.
mean,
And
nobody,
see,
nobody should
and
put up with this stuff.
as people, as human beings, just with day-to-day life and how we treat people and things like that, or, even with the cases that we look at, we have like something huge going for us that law enforcement agencies don't have. We don't have budget constraints. We might have budget constraints in the sense that no, we can't all travel to Tennessee. But if we have extra time, we can research. We're we're all pretty smart people, I think, and it we have people in our community from all walks of life, different educational backgrounds and career backgrounds. I think I said in one of my other streams, that no, the creator probably is not going to have all the answers. I know that I don't have all the answers, but there's people in our chats that do. There's people that have seen pictures that we might not have seen, or seen reports that we might not have seen. We None of us have ownership on these cases. So we need to pull together. If law enforcement is under strict budgets and things like that, do I think that, I always hear people making the joke, well, no YouTube creator's gonna solve the crime. Well, no, we probably won't. But what if one of us came across a very important piece of information that helped? But when we do all this other stuff that gets in the way of it, it's like, man, it makes our jobs hard. And not that this is our job. We're not paid investigators. I'm not yet, but I will be, and
Hmm.
I think that I'm a pretty intelligent person. I'm willing to listen to other people. I'm willing to take everything in and look at it, not just cherry pick details and, what I want to run with. It takes a lot to get to a conclusion, and that's really all investigation is. It's looking at, you develop theories, you look at time, place, date, location, you look at all of that. It takes everything. It's just
Yeah,
like
and
putting together a puzzle.
the thing is that if I went into my job every day and I stopped at the fact that I liked and I didn't continue, then I would be doing an injustice to my patients every day. I'd be like, oh, at this point they said this. And then I stop asking questions and I stop doing my job. Who am I helping? What am I doing? That it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help anybody. If you're going to just stop at the point of the conversation that you're comfortable with or that you like, that you're comfortable with, then that fits your narrative or fits your story or fits your whatever, then you're not doing the whole thing. You have to get to the actual bottom of the problem, regardless if you like the answer or not, regardless if you like where the conversation's actually going or not, regardless. It doesn't matter because at the end of this story, at the end of this crappy rainbow that we're all riding on, is the victim. And the last
Right.
time I checked, we're all here for that person. Every case we're on is a victim. Every story we read is a victim. Every person we talk about is a victim. And not only the victim, but a whole line of them. So screw innocent until proven guilty, in my opinion. Screw, I don't, everybody's a suspect. Every single person is a suspect. And that's not just in Summer's case, but that's every case.
Right.
Everybody is a suspect until they're no longer a suspect.
Exactly.
And
And in missing child cases, not just Summer, especially when you have young children, like Summer's young. You look at the location and where their house was and all of those things, there was two adults, a teenager, and then three other children that we know to have been with her immediately before she went missing. Nothing that they're trying to spin makes sense. And law enforcement has even said that. So when you have small children that go missing it's natural to look at the last people that were with them.
Um,
And,
that's
you
what
know,
law enforcement is trained to do. That's
and
what,
in that,
as me as a forensics nurse, that's what I'm trained to do. That as
right,
anybody that's been trained ever, you look at everything. Everything. You turn everything over and you examine it and you examine it again and you examine it again and you examine it again and you keep examining it until it makes
yes.
sense.
You keep going back to the beginning as many times as it takes.
Yeah,
It's kind of like when
you don't
you
take that
watch,
piece of the puzzle and you put it over here and you set it aside for because you looked at it and you like where that puzzle piece is sitting. Does it fit? No, it doesn't fit. Does it sound right? No, it doesn't sound right. But no, I like it. It no, it doesn't make sense. Nothing Don and Candace has ever said, nothing, not a single word has ever made
right.
sense. I'm so
And
sorry for any person that believes them. But if you have to make it make sense. It doesn't. They have never once looked for their child. Make that make sense to me. They have never once showed true emotion for their child. Make that make sense to me. They have never done anything two doting, loving parents have ever truly done for a child of the age of 5. 5. Make it make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I've seen victims of all ages and all races and all situations. Make it make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I've
yeah, and
seen
it's
people
like
from all walks of life. Doesn't make sense.
when you watch a movie, like, you watch a movie and then the next time you watch it, you notice things you didn't notice the first time. And then the next time you watch it, you notice other things you didn't notice the first two times. And that's kind of like when you're investigating anything. You keep going back and you keep looking and things will jump out at you. And you'll get in your own rhythm. Everyone has their own investigation style. We have our own way of how we categorize things in our mind, tick the boxes and check things off. We all have our own mental system of doing things. Mine's not going to be like yours. Yours is not going to be like the next person. And that's usually, when you're investigating a crime, you don't just put one person on it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes
Mm-hmm.
a team of people working in tandem to do things together, and I think that we've lost sight of that in our little community. Do I think everything will go back to the way it was? Absolutely not. I don't think that's possible because there's been a lot of irreparable damage done, to people's emotions, people's personal lives. I mean, it got a lot uglier than it needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's time for everyone to, check their egos at the door. And it's not a contest of, some people have turned it into a contest of who's done more and who's done the most and this and that. And, I got to be honest, what I've seen the last couple of days made me sick to my stomach. Like it was behaviors that I never expected out of someone. And two people that I care about got caught in the crossfire, and I didn't appreciate that. And no, we're not all going to show up on Ben Hill Road. It's not possible. I don't have the luxury of just upping and traveling anytime I want to. I
And
have
I sure as hell
children,
don't believe that just because you show up at Ben Hill Road gives you any right or any thought process to think that you did more than anybody else. I
right?
don't agree with that. Just because you showed up there
Definitely not.
doesn't mean anything to me. I'm great. I'm glad you showed up, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't know what you're talking about. I say I just need to stop my mouth. because
Yeah.
I can get mouthy.
Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll stream about that
Yeah.
tomorrow. I
But hell in a handbasket, I agree. I don't refer to myself as a victim. I am 100% a survivor of my life. And
exactly.
I think everybody needs to look at themselves that way. You're not a victim of your situation. You're a survivor of it. Anybody that lives in a victim mentality to me is only hurting themselves. Get up. You're better than that. Be strong. We all suffer. Get up. We can only hold ourselves back, hold ourselves down. Get up. You can only label yourself a victim. You can only put yourself in a victim mentality. Get the hell up. You can only play the pity me party so long. You can only do it for so long. You're not a victim. Get up. Now, it's okay to have your good days and it's okay to have your bad days and it's okay to feel sorry for yourself, but you can't live there. You cannot. You got to get up. Life goes on. Everybody doesn't care. People care, but they have their own lives to live. They
Right.
have their own life to do. And quite honestly, the world don't give a damn. So you're going to have to get up. You have to.
Yes.
You're not a victim. If that's the case, we're all victims and we all need to sit on our butts and we all need to feel sorry for ourselves. And the world just needs to stop. But it ain't going to stop. It ain't going to do that. And I have this
And it's just
conversation
like,
100 times a day with my patients.
and it's like what I told that kid, during my victim impact statement, that that moment didn't define him. And as the person on the receiving end, the victim at the time, um, that moment doesn't define you either. It's what happened at the time, and you can either live in it or, like you said, pick yourself up and move forward.
Somebody really great one day said to me, "You're either going to get busy living or you're going to get busy dying." And I'm too young to die. So, and quite honestly, devil don't want me. So, so either get busy living, get busy dying. Get the hell up. This world's way too much, way too powerful for you. And if you don't get over today, tomorrow's going to throw another brick in your face. So you better learn to dodge and weave.
Is my sound okay, Eva? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If y'all heard that big loud boom just a second ago, it wasn't a gun. My pit bull broke the fence and got out of the backyard, and the only way we can get him back in the house is to pop a firework. I know it's cruel, but actually we only had to hold it, but he came around the corner after I had already lit it. My little one just got home from school and she's out in the front yard playing with her friend, and he's very protective of her. So he just wants to be out here with her, but the neighbor has their gates open. So yeah, that's the story of my life right now.
Ruby Red, great motivational person. How do you think I get my patients to do things? I've been doing this for years.
It's funny because before, like, I went to school for massage therapy when my son was a baby. And I actually started out, I was going to go to school for nursing. And then somewhere along the line, like, I'm not a big, don't get me wrong, I appreciate medical professionals. I'm all for, medical intervention when it's absolutely necessary. I think that God created it all for a reason. He created, people with the knowledge and the tools and the machines and the medicines to keep us healthy, bring us back to life when our body's wanting to shut down, to, you know, um, intervene with illnesses and things like that. But I'm more like, if I can avoid taking headache medicine, I will.
I'm the same way.
So, like, massage therapy was just more like with me, like, and I was gonna go into sports injury medicine. So,
Oh, I'm
um,
the same way. Most nurses are the worst patients you're going to find. We're the
yeah, my
worst.
mother-in-law is a nurse, and trust me, like, if we even have a sniffle, it's she goes into nurse mode, and well, we have to take this, and it's like she's doing rounds,
Oh,
like,
oh, I'm not like that. My
oh,
husband, no, no, I'm not like that. I'm the worst. I'm like, "Ah, you're fine." I'm like,
but
"No,
yeah,
you're fine."
like, and my mom, when she was on hospice, because we found out she had cancer, um, she had the most amazing hospice nurse, and she was a lot like you. She's in it for the people. That's all she cared about. And I remember the day my mom passed away, it wasn't a scheduled day for her to come to our house. Um, she She said she just happened to be in the area and something had told her to stop by. Now, I had already been on the phone with the hospice people all morning long because um I could tell that, it was coming to an end. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And they're like, just keep giving her morphine. And I remember I'm on the phone with the lady and I was like, I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna make her overdose. And she's like, honey, she's on her way out anyway. She's
Yeah,
dying anyway. I'm like, am I gonna go to jail? And they're like, no, you're not gonna go to jail. They just wanted me to keep pumping her full of it. And it was funny because the whole time that she was home, we had 3 weeks with her from the day of diagnosis. The whole time she was home, we could not get her to take this medicine. Like she said she wasn't in any pain.
yeah.
No, she was lying. She had so many tumors on her brain. She had stage 4 small cell cancer when we found out. She had had it for a couple of years. It started in her lungs and spread. She had it in her abdomen, her bones, her lungs. It was everywhere. Her head, when they showed me the images, it looked like she had a headband across her brain
Oh,
because
wow.
yeah, it was bad. So, but towards the end, she was like, it was great medicine. I was sneaking it in her ice cream because she got to the point where she didn't want to eat anything. She didn't need the food.
Yeah.
She knew where she was going. She was content with that. She started mumbling in some language I didn't understand. And I asked her, I'm like, Mama, who are you talking to? She said, I'm talking to Jesus and he's coming to get me. And, that freaked me out. But there
Aw.
again, that's a whole nother like 2 hour stream. But
No, I did hospice for 7 years, and I loved it. Loved it. It was it was humbling. Very, very, very humbling. And uh what's the best way to put it? Um See, I can't work peds. Like, I can't work pediatrics.
uh
Um it breaks my heart. Um it it like, I can't specifically work like pediatrics, NICU, nothing like that. I can't specifically work with them. Um, it takes too much. I just want to take them all home with me.
yeah.
Um,
And that's how I feel about children's cases. Like, honestly, I've always followed Summer's case, but I've never like gotten this far into it to where I'm vocal about it because it just tears me up. Like it destroys me. And even my 8-year-old, she's like, "Thank you, Pollyanna." Um, she when I'm listening to stuff in the car or something, she has her little headphones, and if it's just like if I'm just listening to mainstream media reports and stuff, it's fine. She like doesn't listen to any live streams or anything, but she always asks me every day if I'm listening to something about Summer and has Summer been found yet, things like that. So, hey Tawanda.
Now the thing about hospice is it's like labor and delivery. It's it's a miracle. Hospice is if you believe in a higher power, it's as close as you're going to get to a higher power as anything. And it for me it was. But you're not there to make any friends. You know, we
Yeah.
us and the, me, you know, us and the patients, we clearly know what's happening. And so you working in those situations, it's definitely making the best of every day, of whatever that day is. You're making the best of that day every day. And I was always in the mindset of, I'm not going to tell you no. You know, you've heard no. Let's say you have terminal cancer or you're terminal of something. You know, you've heard the word no so many times. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't go there. You can't, all of these things. You can't. You can't. Because it's going to kill you. Well, we we know where you're at now, and
Hmm.
you're terminal. So what's the worst that's going to happen? Uh, well, okay, we're there. So I was always the yes girl. Sure. What do you want? You know, you want ice cream? Great. What flavor? You know, you're diabetic? Okay, we'll cover you with insulin. What's it going to do? Kill you? You know? Okay, I'll cover you with insulin. I don't care. You know, um, you know, families like, no, they can't smoke. They can here. I don't care. They're on oxygen. I don't care. Take them off oxygen. But they
Yeah,
can't
my
be off
mom kept
oxygen.
hiding her oxygen. She would pull it off her nose and she would like lay on it because that way we couldn't get it and put it back. But she waited till my brother got back in town and we were all together. Her main thing was she wanted to go home. And see, we don't think about that either. When there are people that are in the hospital, like my mom was a victim in that instance. Um, she she knew, like she was in the same hospital I had my daughter at, a teaching hospital, university hospital. And so, of course they wanted her to stay, and I don't want to say use her because I know it's necessary, but when it comes to your family member, it kind of feels like they're a guinea pig. And, they were trying to talk her into donating her body to science, which I can appreciate that too, because when I was in massage school, I had a cadaver class, and that's how we identified muscles and things like that. And it was very hands on. Like they didn't just teach us how to rub your back, they taught us, where each muscle connects and, what nerves are there. I mean, we knew our stuff. And
Hmm.
so I can appreciate donating your remains to science. I'm all for it, but not when it's your family member. It's different. And I just couldn't quite get myself out of that part of it to where I could allow my emotions to cross over into the science of it. I wasn't prepared because it
Yeah.
happened so fast. She really wanted to get home, and the hospital was it was Labor Day weekend. I had come in to my childhood town from where I was living at the time. And my brother was going back and forth between here and the West Coast when he was living there. He had a family. So we finally got her home. So she was a victim in that aspect. I felt like they were holding her hostage. I felt like they weren't honoring her wishes. Um, so I fought and I fought and I called every hospice place I could think of. And finally, one that I never left a message at, never spoke to anyone, nothing. They called me out of the blue. And so I'm so grateful that they did. They found us somehow. It was meant to be. But she waited for all of us to be in our house and she was ready. That's when she started taking the oxygen off, and that's when she was just ready to let go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
So
no
there's
doubt.
victims in so many different aspects in life. You know,
Absolutely.
there's
And
been victims on YouTube.
oh
There's
yeah,
been friends of ours who have been made into victims. And I just think, we've got to, why do we do this? Why are we in this? Is it just to have a channel and make a name for ourselves? I don't care about that. I don't ever want to get so big that I forget who I am and why I do this. Um, I get, yeah, I break the rule that I'm going to have to follow when I'm actually out there in the field, which is to not get emotionally invested, but I can't help it. You know, Lisa Key's in the chat right now. She knows, like I talk to her about life, about things, she's a person to me. She's not just a case I'm working.
yeah.
She is a mother. She, to more than just Aaron, she has two other children. She's a powerhouse.
She is
Um,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
So you have to view these people as individuals, as human beings. Dawn and Candace, I view them as human beings. It's just my perception of them is that they're not very good human beings when it comes to raising children, being responsible adults, being productive members of society.
Agree. Agree.
Yes, they're human beings. Yes, they deserve a fair trial, but Summer deserves to be found. So you got to kind of weigh the importance of all of it. Summer's the true victim here, not Dawn and Candace.
No.
So
No.
the lines get blurred about who the victims are and things like that. In Aaron's case, he's the victim. Lisa's the victim's mother. It doesn't matter what mistakes her son made. It doesn't matter what mistakes Josh Bohannon made or Caitlin Ledbetter or any of the other cases that are going on in Tennessee that we're going to be talking about. So we need to just kind of recharge, refresh, remember why we're here, what drew us in to begin with, find that passion again, and let all the rest of the BS go because none of that matters.
No, if it's facts over feelings when it comes to these cases. Facts over feelings.
Yes,
Find the facts and put your feelings in check. And it's hard when it comes to kids, and it's hard. It's so difficult when it comes to these things. But if you let your feelings get involved over the and this is when I first became a nurse, you your first couple patients you lose, it breaks you, and it'll wean you out real quick because you let your heart get involved with them. You will lose everything with them. But you're a facts-based person. You have to be, and not that's not just nursing, this is life. With when it comes to your kids, facts. You got to do the facts over feelings. You can't just, every time your kid comes to you and they're like, "Mommy, that kid was mean to me." Well, yeah, well, that's kind of life, hun. You're gonna have to get used to those details. You can't run out and beat every kid up that, calls your kid a name. You have to. Your kid's gonna have to learn these things. You have to be a parent too. And with all of these cases, you're gonna have to do facts over feelings too. You're gonna have to get the facts and put your feelings in check. It hurts. It hurts with these kids. It hurts with these cases. You get emotionally invested, but you can't let it eschew the facts of these cases. It
right.
doesn't help, because at the end of the day, we go on to other cases. We we will move on to other cases. And these kids, they will live an entire life destined for something much bigger. And that, again, that's where I wholeheartedly stand here and say, when it comes to the aftercare of these children, of any of these cases, what are we doing for them? That's what I'm concerned about. All of these kids that are found, let's not just move on and be like, yay, they were found, and then move the hell on. What are we doing for them? I want to see more for them. Let's celebrate them and care for them and care for their aftercare of them, because their moments are scary.
Right.
You know, the every child that's been through a moment, it lives with them. And especially in the society that we live in now, they hold on to everything. They're so stuck with those moments. And we need to be more cautious and careful with what we're saying online, doing online, portraying online, and how we're doing everything. I do not believe that Summer's alive. I don't. But her brothers are. And her
Yes.
brothers are going to see every single bit of this. Every single bit of the nonsense you all are
Yes.
doing.
And if those parents, or even one of them, I can talk about my opinions at another time, but in order to benefit the boys, what an amazing opportunity that they have in front of them to be honest, do the right thing. It's a teaching moment, as tragic as it is. They need to cut the crap and think about, okay, yes, my boys are safe right now. They're happy, they're thriving, they're healthy. Hopefully, they're getting some therapy. But they're going to grow up. They're not going to be little forever. They're going to grow up. They're going to be able to look back on this stuff. What an amazing opportunity to seize this teaching moment and teach them about accountability and honesty and, doing the right thing.
Hmm.
Yes, they're going to have to sacrifice themselves in order to do that, but it's for your children. So even now, with one child missing, they're still failing those boys who aren't even in their care.
Hmm.
These boys, when they get older, I worry about them. Is because situations like this will make you and break you. It'll break you to the point where you just completely rebel against life, against society, against rules, against everything, and you just kind of self-destruct.
Absolutely.
Or they can take this, I remember someone had put a poll out or something about what should be done with the money, the reward money, if Summer, if she's not found, or if she's just not found by way of a credible tip or something like that. If no one collects the reward money, what should be done with it? And I think I answered, that it should be set up in a trust
For
for the
those boys.
boys.
Oh, I agree.
And,
100%.
they can either draw it out at a time that they're old enough, well, I mean, nobody's really ever old enough to be responsible with money, right? Like, there's some people that just never get to that point in life where they're responsible with money. But, they have the option, either go to school or draw the money to start their life. But I think that the age should be set at like 20, 25, somewhere around there. Not just give it to them right when they're 18, because I think that would be a tragedy. Wouldn't it be great if they grew up and got all the help that they needed and were able to start an organization, the three of them, like in their sister's honor, or just do something with it to give back, and of course, that's my big pipe dream for them. They're not my children. I have no say in it, but,
I agree. I
I
agree.
just think that there's so many, as horrible as the situation is, there's so much good that can come out of it, but it's never gonna get there until the parents speak up,
And I
like,
I
they
mean, if
really.
that's something that community around them should be doing. They should be rallying around not only Summer, but rallying around those boys. This is my opinion, okay? As somebody who's been through this, as somebody who's lived that life, who's lived in the foster system, who's who's been a part of this, and came out on the other side of it with not a thing to show for it, and had to
Right.
work her whole life to sustain something. And not that built so much character for me, built so much stuff, but these boys have something that this community can rally around, and they have something to grasp onto. Yes, they're
Mhm.
looking for Summer, but you have three boys, three,
Right.
that you can build something for, that they have something for. You can build an organization for them. You can build a, a trust for them. You can build a community for them. You can build a complete growth for them. And you don't have to put it in their name. You can you can build something for them alone. It is impossible for my mind to sit here and think that in Tennessee alone, you've found how many child predator groups, organizations, and you
Oh,
don't
it's
have
rampant.
one, not one child advocacy group. And I'm not talking about the child advocacy group. Why can't I say that word? Wow. Um, not the child center that they're wanting to donate to, but for trafficked kids. And they're breaking down all these, they don't have one. How is that possible?
Right. I
Why
think this
why
whole
does that
case is
exist?
lacking, it's like there was a comment earlier that it's hard, to really get to any concrete theories in cases where you don't have any facts to go on. Everything's just like so up in the air. I think true crime commentary, yeah. Um, so all we have is what we hear and what we see, and we're left to interpret it on our own because these people are so tight-lipped, and when they do open their mouths, it's either lies or stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with anything,
I
and
don't want to
it's
hear
just.
any I don't want to hear another lie. I don't want to hear it.
Right,
The
and,
police have to
each.
hold their hands close together. I don't want to hear another YouTube channel lie about this case, these kids, or Summer, or in another case. I don't want you to hold in secrets. I don't want to hear it. You know
Right,
something, say something. I don't want to hear you holding a secret. I don't want to hear you have a research group I don't want to hear it. You know something, say something to the group, because
mhm,
we ain't doing anybody any good keeping secrets.
right, and, like, in Aaron, I keep saying Aaron's case, but that's the biggest one I'm working on right now, and I intend to see it through to the end, but and there's people talking about it, but they're not talking to the right people. And it's the same thing. It's just littered with lies and deception and secrets, and they're so worried about themselves. A lot of them are the people that were responsible. They're all, drug addicted, and they all have their own demons too, but it's because they haven't quite gotten to the point where, they're ready to give any of that up. They know if they talk, they're probably all going to go to jail or worse, because at the heart of his case, you have corrupt, agencies who are doing their own dirty deeds. and we're going to talk more about that definitely because there's some things that I've heard and stuff like that. But it's tough when you don't have facts. It's very frustrating too on our end where we want those facts and we feel helpless because I would go to Tennessee right now if I could, if I thought that I could make a difference in Summer's case, if I thought I could make a difference in Aaron's case. And you know how many people that have been wrongfully convicted and sent away and lost years? I'm talking like 60 years, 20 years, 17 years, incarcerated for a crime they didn't commit because of shoddy investigative work. They just, and it's kind of, it resembles what goes on here. People just take a look at something and they think they have it figured out, and they react before they get all the facts. And you definitely have to be on your A game when it comes, especially death investigation, because someone's life was lost. Like there's a person who is no longer, or multiple people no longer walking this earth, living to grow into the people they were created to be. And, the person responsible is either walking free. And so they don't feel like they have justice. It's more, there's so many people that suffer when a case is not handled properly.
Hmm.
So
It's in
many
the case.
people.
The cases suffer
Mhm.
tremendously.
Yes.
We start messing
So,
around in these communities, or we start messing around in these cases, and we can screw crap up real quick. Don't mess around in a case where you have no intentions of helping it. Please stay out. I beg of you. I truly beg of you. If you have no intentions of helping, you're hurting. And I beg of you to stay the hell out, because
yeah,
you're hurting everybody. If you're just here to cause problems and drama and all of these other things, just stay out, because
mhm,
the person who's suffering is Summer. She's suffering. Or it's the Aaron Keys, or it's there's so many cases. Choose and pick and choose which one you want, but don't ruin it. You're hurting
right.
people, real life people. And I'm not worried about your reputation, my reputation, everybody's reputation here. We're talking about real people, real life kids, emotions, parents, victims, everybody. Don't mess around here. This isn't a game. This is real
Yes.
life. If
And
you want
there's,
to if you want to play a game, I got Clue. I got Monopoly over here. I'll let you play all day. But
yeah,
if you want to see some real life crap, come to work with me. You want to be in some drama? I work in an emergency room, y'all. You I They have dramas based on my life.
yes.
It's called ER, Grey's Anatomy, Scrubs.
ER and Grey's Anatomy, that's what pushed me to want to go to nursing school.
I mean, y'all want to watch some drama? Sit in your living room and turn the TV on. But stay
Yeah.
the hell out of these real life cases. This is real.
Well, and there was a comment that said, people think that it looks cool if they say they have all this information, they just can't share it. And then
You
they
don't look
said,
cool. You look
that's
stupid.
true inside knowledge. It's a very heavy and bitter burden. I agree with that statement 100%. Like, if you truly know something, like, definitively what happened, and you think that you're going to be able to just hold that all in, no, it will kill you in one way or another, but over time. How can you live with that, knowing, like, you say for a fact that Joe stabbed Frank in the heart and killed him, but you're not going to tell anybody. You choose to bear that cross. No, like, what kind of person does that make you?
I'll see you
And
in
when
my
it's
ER.
hard,
I'll see you in
it's
my ER. You have information like that, I'll see you in my ER because
yeah,
it'll kill you.
yes. And then when
I
you
will literally be seeing you in my emergency room because that will hurt you. And you'll be telling it to me, which then I will be telling to the police because I'm a mandatory porter. I have to tell.
right,
There is no
and,
client privileges with me. I have to
like,
tell.
on the internet, it's like things have gotten so misconstrued, and, people are so quick to just look at things and run with it, that all any a certain group A has to say is, "No, that's fake. They manufactured that." Well, then, you can have like real proof staring you right in the face. But as long as you got enough people thinking that it's fake, that everything this person produces is fake, well, then you're right back to step one. So it's time to, like, if you're not going to approach these cases on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else and be objective and, like, honest with yourself and with other people, then it's best to just walk away,
Please.
because this can't keep happening. Like, it just keeps going back to where all of us as individuals, as a group, as a community, we need to recenter and refocus. And if this isn't something, I mean, this isn't just a hobby for me. It's not just a hobby for you. There's a lot of people that this is just not a hobby for. Do I think my channel is ever going to support my life? No, I do not. And I don't want it to. I don't care if I ever, get wealthy or even, extra comfortable over this. It's about the people for me. Trust me, death investigators don't make a whole lot more than teachers do. And I think teachers are incredibly underpaid. But
Absolutely, they are.
as long as I have a roof over my kids' heads, warm clothes, food to eat, able to experience things in life with them, I'm all set. That's all I need. Because, like I said before, you can't take it all with you when you go. And these cases are nothing to play around with.
I would
Um,
do my job if I got paid nothing to do it. I love it that much.
yeah,
I
and
don't
that's
work.
how you
I
know
don't
your
do my
heart's
job
in.
because I get paid to do it. I do my job every day because I love what I do. And it's a very rare occurrence to be able to find a job in your life that you enjoy. But I love what I do. Now,
Right.
some days do I hate going to work? Absolutely. In the morning, I'm not a morning person. I don't like getting up, but I get my butt to work, and they make me smile. They make me grind my teeth. They do it all to me. But there isn't a thing in this world that I could see myself doing other than being a nurse every day.
Yeah, and
This
that's
is
why when I was going through with my brother-in-law's situation, like, I just knew, I felt it, that this is what I'm supposed to do. When I look at, like, all my personality traits and characteristics and just the methods that I use just for everyday things, it fits. I just fit here. And I may not ever solve a YouTube case. I may never be the one that brings an important piece of information. My purpose on YouTube is to bring awareness to the cases who have not gotten the attention that they deserve. That's my only goal on YouTube.
Mhm.
And and I'm all about exposing stuff too. Now, don't get me wrong. If I catch someone doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, you can guarantee I'm probably going to talk about it. But it's about accountability. How can you say that you're in true crime or you're advocating for anything when you're doing so much destruction in the process? We're
Well,
not going to say his
how can
name
you
because
say you're
it's
in true crime if you're committing crimes? That don't
right.
make any sense.
Because you're not being true. You're just fulfilling the crime part. And I don't know. Like so the last 6 months that I've been on YouTube has been like the wildest roller coaster ride I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like this. And I've seen some crazy stuff now. I lived in Vegas for a while. I've seen some stuff. But you just, when you really start digging into these cases, like with Aaron's case, nobody had ever heard about his case. Not too many people are familiar with Josh Bohannon. No one knows about Caitlin Ledbetter, and she's been missing for months. Right in Tennessee. You would think that with as much digging as we've all been doing into Tennessee, that we would know about all of it. And you guys, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is some shady stuff going on there. And all the possibilities that we've talked about and all the theories that we've mulled over about Summer with trafficking and, trading her for this and that, that stuff really happens. It really is happening just a few counties over. Let's see this comment real quick. I was in a Zoom prayer vigil for my last night. It was rough, but felt good. Oh, so every Thursday, you guys, I'm gonna pin this one real quick. On Thursdays, they have prayer vigils for Maya's family, and they need support. So if anyone needs details, just get with Levitt, and he will hook you guys up and let you know what you need to know. And info on searches too. Well, that's good. Like I loved Tiffany's stream the other morning. It was kind of a rough day for me, not I didn't have a couple of my best moments, but that's all squared away. But she just did, like a quiet prayer stream for Summer, and it was beautiful. Lisa, would you want to do that for Aaron once a week? Would you want to just do a prayer stream where it's just like an hour of silence and we just pray for things to go our way? Do you care if I say I'm going to do it anymore? I got to work on that. I always ask like if I can do something, and then 9 times out of 10, I'm doing it before they ever answer me. Okay, let's do it. So we're going to say that Wednesday afternoons is Aaron's prayer day.
I want to clarify something real quick.
Hmm.
Miss Sandy F., I am not a creator. I don't have any time for that, nor do I want to, nor will I ever in my life. If I had a if I had a YouTube channel, it would be watching grass grow.
I made the mistake of I thought I was going to have two channels, and I do have a backup in case anything ever happens to this one, but yeah. It's a lot. No, my name is not Libby.
Her name is Chasing Justice. Sorry.
Um so I mean, that's really like just wanted to share my story with you guys. Is there anyone else that wants to
Yeah,
hop up and talk about what got you into true crime? You
I'm
can
gonna
write
step
it in
down.
chat. You don't have Okay, thank you for coming up,
Yeah, I'll let
and
other
I'll be
people come up.
talking to you later.
Absolutely, I'm gonna let anybody else come up. But
Okay.
I love you. I respect you so much, and
I love
thank
you
you for
too.
everything you're doing. And
Thank you. I
I
wish it could be
again,
more. I'm working.
I'm
I
so
have a
proud of
break
you.
from school, so
I'm so
I'll be
proud of
able
you for going back to school.
Thank
It takes
you.
so much. I remember school. That
I
was rough.
do my classes online pretty much, and like I couldn't imagine like having to sit in a classroom with people who are like 20 years younger than me.
Girl, I couldn't.
I would feel so out of place because my wisdom highlights show every once in a while, if I don't do my roots, and then my wrinkles. But oh
Girl,
well.
I could not even see myself going back to school. Oh, hell no. But I'm so proud of you for going back to school and,
Thank
accomplishing your
you.
dreams and doing what you're wanting to do and 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 achieving your higher education. That's so amazing. And
Thank you. Thank you.
everybody do it. It's
All
such a
right.
big
Well, I'll
deal.
talk to you later.
Okay.
So, does anyone else want to come up? Oh, thank you, Susie. I felt like I needed to get out from behind the cartoon character and, put a picture of me up. So, since someone stole my picture that time and proceeded to, make fun of me and everything, I can't help. I have a big forehead. You should see it now. I have a big knot on it. I hit myself in the head with the door. But, it's okay. I'm pretty on the inside. That's what I tell myself. So if no one else wants to come up, I'm gonna drop a link in the chat for Lisa and just have her come up for a minute. I'm gonna have to wrap up soon. But that way we can just catch up with her for a minute and we'll talk about our first prayer stream that we're gonna do for Aaron. So Lisa, just go ahead and oh, thank you, Trish. I didn't mean like I appreciate that comment, but I was trying to share the link. Okay. Okay, I dropped the link. Um, so Lisa, if you want to grab it and come up, then we'll talk about Aaron for a minute. I got interested in criminal justice very young. Dad spent most. Aw. Criminal justice is a very interesting, like, it's in the chat, Lisa. Like, if you just scroll up through the comments, you should see it. It'll say StreamYard. It'll look just like the one I text to you. Just click on it right in the chat. Um, there's these classes you can take. They're not classes, they're like little online courses. It's called Allison courses. Alison. Let me write it. There's an app. You can get it at Play Store. Um, and you can pick like anything and you can get certificates. Like they'll mail you a certificate. I don't know if it's like if it would be accepted anywhere, but you can study criminal justice. You can study like OSHA standards for food prep. I mean, hotel management, just anything. And it's like, okay, at least I'll try to text it to you. Um, or Facebook Messenger, I guess maybe would be the easiest way. Let me try this one more time. I'm going to put it in right now for you, Lisa. So as soon as you see it pop up, just click on it. But you can take any kind of little certifications. You can pay, I think it's like $20 and they'll send you like a certificate for after each test that you take. So if you're ever like when you're working these cases or researching with creators or groups, whatever, I encourage you to get the app and like just refer back to it and kind of help you along in the process. And I trust me, once you get out of the mindset that everyone is trying to convince you that you're doing something wrong, you're messing up the case, this and that. And you look back and you actually read, no, this is actually how it's done in law enforcement, then you feel more comfortable. And I don't know, it just helps. It's a mental thing, I think, because people are really hardcore pressed to convince people that they're making a mess out of everything when I actually like we know we've been beneficial to the case. we've connected a lot of dots, and I guarantee you that some of the things that we've uncovered or come across, law enforcement has too. They just can't confirm that with us. There's a big difference, and that goes back to, guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and you have to people guilty people walk free all the time, and innocent people go to jail all the time because T's don't get crossed and I's don't get dotted. Go to jail all the time because,
Okay.
hey,
Hey.
how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in here. I've got two different. I'm trying to get, trying to find the remote to the TV. I'm okay.
Mm.
I'm trying to get.
Uh, yes, a degree in psychology would definitely help with these three people that we're up against in this case.
Oh wait. Oh, in Aaron's case, oh, you 100%. They need some psych help. Let me see. I've got to figure
So,
out what I'm gonna do.
so
Oh,
on
in Aaron's case,
Wednesdays,
oh, 100%. They need some psych help.
yeah.
Let me see. I've got to figure out what I'm gonna do. Oh,
So on
okay.
Wednesdays,
I'll just go in the bathroom.
okay.
Okay, I'm good.
So on we'll shoot for Wednesday afternoons, like around 1 o'clock. We'll just do like, 30 minutes or an hour of just prayer. And then if we have something that we need to talk about, we'll just go right into that. I don't want to say too much right now. I'll talk to you about it privately over the weekend because I do want to come do another update probably on Tuesday.
Okay.
Um, of anything that you've heard or found out. And then at that point, we'll, pick and choose what we want to share with things that I've heard and seen. Um,
Okay.
and it's just about the area in general, just bringing more awareness. And then also, I want to, like we've talked about before, you guys, if you're on Facebook, go request to join the group Tennessee's Dark Hole. Um, there's just a lot of cases in there that I think will blow your minds. Um, yeah, there's just a lot going on. So, and of course, if you guys do join the group and you're in there and you see a case that maybe you've heard of or you have knowledge of, you can always email me and we can connect and you can share stuff with me. But when you start to see the things that are actually going on in those areas, and exactly how much corruption and cover up is going on, a lot of other things start to make sense. It opens up the door for possibilities of other things. So,
It sure does.
yeah, I mean, we definitely live in a very cool world. Like, I never imagined that I would be raising children in a world that is as bad as it is. I thought things were rough back in the 80s, but that was back when all we had to worry about was the dirty old vans with no windows, like I don't know,
Yeah.
somewhere along the lines in elementary school that was my stranger danger teaching. You don't walk close to the vans with no windows because
Yeah.
whoever was in it was gonna snatch you. These days, it could be the little old man, walking behind you in the parking lot at Walmart. You just never know.
No, you don't. And generally these days, they're moving two and three at a time, where, you know, even a good, strong woman, a strong kid, they can be overpowered by that many. And
Right.
kids, I mean, I hate to know. I'm grateful that my grandchildren don't have to grow up there because I'm still shocked about what I find every day.
Mhm.
Uh, who's involved in the state of Tennessee? It goes all the way to the top. It really does. And I mean, it's sad. It's just sad.
Yes.
But I intend, come hell or high water, Aaron's death is not going to be in vain.
No. So we've heard, like, we started off talking about, I told the story of my brother-in-law and then talked about my mom and the different, ways that, like, why we do it as creators, as viewers, as subs, as just true crime enthusiasts, like, we talked about why we do it. As a family member of a victim, like, you've started to develop a passion for people who are in the same situation as you. So is that something that you've always felt, or is that something that, started to develop and gets more intense as time goes by after what happened to Aaron?
Uh, uh, my thing is, everybody's child, I don't care who it is, how old they are, they all deserve to be treated equally and not disrespected when their lives have been took. I hope that somewhere in all of this that there'll be some police officers stand up and say, enough's enough. Because the self-serving me attitude has got us to where we are now. I mean, turn the head,
Right.
look the other way, it don't involve me. It can involve you tomorrow. It can involve you tonight. And when people, I thought that couldn't happen to me too, but
Hmm.
it can. It can happen to any one of us out there. Uh, I mean, when you got a DA that'll stand in a courtroom full of people and say, "I can do anything I want to because there's nobody above me." What does
Right.
that speak for? What does that speak for our justice system, our judges? Because the judges should call this man out on that, but they just fall in line. They live in fear. Uh, I've had my death threats. I'm all right with dying. It's a lot easier than seeing how ugly and how people don't want to get involved. And karma's ugly when you know something and you don't stand up and make a stand for what's right, then you're no better than the people that killed them. That's just the way I see it. I mean, right's right and wrong's wrong, and it don't matter who's doing it.
Right. Well, I know that I've got, my girls, they're looking at things. And like I said, we'll get together over the weekend and talk about some stuff and, course of action, because it's time. We need to get justice for a lot of people. And
Well, now, I believe, and I could be wrong. I'm not objective in all this, and I've got enough sense to realize that. But I believe, I have no doubt in my mind a second autopsy will show, he didn't hang himself. I mean, I believe if the stuff that I have in my possession were tested, it would prove he didn't do it.
for
But,
sure.
and I don't know how or where to turn to get it tested. Um, I've got some trafficking information. I can't find nobody to give it to. Uh, and it come
Nobody
from a good.
wants to take it.
No, well, I'm not going to give it to anybody up there because this stuff runs real, real deep.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, the good officers that want to do right, they can't, or they'll lose their jobs. That's their livelihood. And, you have to respect that.
Right.
And they have families, children. But what they've got to realize, those kids, their children, their grandchildren, have to grow up in that area. So they're going to be subjected to this stuff. And all it takes is being in the wrong place, the wrong time, one time. And anybody's child can go missing or be killed. Uh, until, they live in fear until people are really ready to stand up and take a stand together. There's not one of these cases out of Tennessee can change what's going on. But when you've got enough voices standing together, we can make a change. We can make an impact. But it's going to take everybody standing together and not saying, well, my child comes first. They're all somebody's children. It's not just
Right.
about Aiden. It's about the future of tomorrow's kids. And until people stand up and stand together, this is going to keep going on. And I was privileged to grow up there. And now it's like a gateway to hell to me. I
Mhm.
just I can't believe it got this far so fast.
Right.
Uh, I'm still in shock. I try to hang in there, but I have my real rough days. I was raised eye for an eye, and but his kids deserve to know their dad didn't take his life. His
Right.
life, his death needs to stand for something. If it saves one person's life, two people's lives, if it changes the justice system up there, then he didn't die in vain. But so many people,
Yep.
I've had a petition for exhumation out. People are afraid to sign it because they're afraid their name's going to be on it. What if it was your child? I mean, I don't like the idea of having to take him out of the ground. And I've prayed that somebody will just stand up and say, look, this is what happened. But the reality of the situation is they're not going to do that. It's past that unless they get in awful deep, deep trouble.
Um, I did put the link in the chat. You guys grab it, just copy it, put it in, in your notes section of your phone or whatever. Come back to it whenever you can. It's the link for the GoFundMe, and it's to fund these independent testing and exhumation and things that Lisa needs in order to just she's really after very little in this case. The main thing is to get his death certificate changed for his children.
Yeah.
um Everything else beyond that is a bonus. Do
Well, the
I
thing
want
beyond
to
that,
see people convicted? Yes, I want the people responsible in jail where they belong. If what we can get is the death certificate changed, then I'm all for that too, because his children deserve that. So
yes,
you
they
guys
do.
just think about it. I know times are hard right now with the holidays and just with the world in general, but every dollar helps. It's for a
Yes.
good cause. So the
There's some
link is in the chat, copy it, and just next time you think about going and getting, a donut or, grabbing breakfast on the way to work, just, think about throwing a couple of dollars to the GoFundMe and because as far as the exhumation and stuff goes, time is running out. You
yeah.
know, we all know what happens after life. We know the way nature works, and it's just the evidence is there. We've just got to be able to get it. And Tennessee is one of the toughest states when it comes to things like that. So,
Well,
yes, definitely consider donating.
in Aaron's case, what makes it hard is most people are in public cemeteries, and I believe when it comes to a private family cemetery, the it's not as hard, is what I've been told. But you still have to have attorney fill out the papers,
Yes,
you know,
and in this
explain
case,
why.
honestly, once all the paperwork is done, all the required forms and documents and everything are signed, I think in this particular case, they're going to drag their feet and, they're going to prolong it as long as they can. They don't want him to be exhumed. They don't.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that, there's going to be a whole new set of obstacles when it comes to that part of the process. So the sooner we can make this happen, the better. So,
yes.
um,
But if you stop and well, the one, the one, I know there's at least, I sent you that conversation
mhm,
with the one guy, and threatening to steal his body, put his kids in a hole beside him. Uh, they've they've opened up a Pandora's box because there's just so many up there that this same agency is playing God with, trying to take people's property. Uh, I mean, you stand in a court of law and say I can do whatever I want to. There's nobody above me. No, God's upstairs. He's listening.
yeah,
Uh, and I may not ever see one of them go to jail in this lifetime. I realize that, but I do know it's a possibility to change his death ruling for his kids. His children deserve that. It's not
right.
me. It's those kids. Uh,
Yeah, and
I
they may never end up behind bars, but trust me, they're living inside their own mental prison. They'll never get that picture out of their mind.
there could
That,
there's not a more deserving bunch. Uh,
yeah,
Aaron wasn't the first one. He's not. They've been family after family destroyed because of the drugs they sell, and the drugs they sell are the kind that really plays havoc in the brain. Wasp dope is no joke. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's no joke. It really ain't.
um,
People thought I was crazy. I'm not crazy. Read up on it.
yeah.
So,
Pollyanna, we were talking about it's not a petition. I put the link in chat and I'll put it in Discord too. It's the link for the GoFundMe that Lisa set up. She, like, the investigators haven't done their job. They want to keep his death, what actually happened hidden. So she needs some independent testing done. She needs to have him exhumed, and just have DNA testing done on some articles that she has, his hat, the rope, things like that. So we're trying to get some funds together for that, and it's been a while. The clock is ticking. So I just ask people to grab the link from chat, save it to your phone. But like I said, I'll put it in Discord. I've shared it on my community page as well. And then, of course, if you guys ever think about it and you can't find the link and you need it, you can always reach out to me and I'll be glad to share it with you. Um,
if they'd rather buy a shirt, there's shirts
oh, that's
that's
right. There's
available.
shirts. And who
And
designed the shirts again?
excuse me,
Who designed the shirts? Like who did the
uh,
character? Was it
Trigger Trigger
Triggered
Justice,
Minds or Triggered Justice? Okay.
Trigger Justice. The I just loved it. I mean, it's a really neat design. I wouldn't have never thought of it, but uh, I love it. I bought one of them. But yeah, and there's also the petition to the FBI. There's
Yeah.
also a petition in Justice for Aaron Shane Key for the FBI to investigate the 13th Judicial District.
Right. So you guys hop on Facebook. There's the Justice for Aaron Shane Key group. You can go in there. You can read about his case. She did an amazing job at writing it out for everybody in different parts, and it tells everything leading up to the night he was killed. and what happened that night, and then a little afterwards, and the problems and the hurdles that she's had to deal with throughout this process. And then, like I said, next week, Tuesday, I'll you and I will get together behind the scenes, talk this weekend. We'll set up a time that everyone be watching for a stream to come out Tuesday. Um, and we're just going to do an update, and we're going to keep updating, and we're going to keep talking about it until people just get tired. They get tired and they get scared and they start talking, because you keep pushing people, you keep poking them, and they start to get nervous. When people start to get nervous, what do all of us do when we're nervous? A lot of people just start, you
Make
know,
mistakes.
jabbering and talking and things like that. They don't realize that they're telling things while they're trying to fish for information to see how much you actually know. So they do
Exactly.
make mistakes. So
Oh,
that's
but
what we're going to keep doing.
I will pull that girl up where she called the one out on
Uh-huh.
Facebook. I'll pull that up and I'll send it to you. Um,
Okay. All
I
right.
know
Well, I'm going to
there's
have to start wrapping up and hop off here. My child is starting to, I think her movie's over. So I'm going to get her
okay.
settled, and we've got salt dough ornaments to make. If you guys haven't ever made salt dough ornaments for Christmas, it's the best fun ever. And it's literally salt, flour, and water. I don't measure anything. I just throw it in there, and then when it's not sticky anymore and it forms a dough, we use cookie cutters, make all kinds of shapes, and we put them in the oven, and then we paint them. So,
That's cool.
um,
My tree's laying in my dining room floor.
uh,
I just hadn't got to. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's
It's
been
different this
crazy.
year.
I just got mine up, but it doesn't have lights on it yet. Like that's my least favorite part of the tree, is putting the lights on. I
Well,
told my
mine's
husband I want to get a tree that, once the kids have moved out and I have an extra room, I just want to put a big plastic bag over the tree, fully decorated, put it in a spare room, and just pull it out every year, because I am,
yeah.
ugh,
Well, I just this year's been a little. It's a little harder. I don't. You'd think it would be easier. It's been right at 33 months, and
yeah.
it's just I don't know why it's just harder this year. And maybe I can have Christmas when his name's cleared. But
Yeah,
anyway,
well,
I'm going to get
hang
off
in
here.
there. Okay, and I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Okay. I
All
appreciate
right.
everybody listening. Bye.
Bye. Y'all, I want to help her so bad. Like, it breaks my heart. But so if you're not familiar with this case, definitely hop over to Facebook, join the group, read up on it. I do have a video on this channel. There's some more on my other channel, Crime Scene Uncovered. That should still be there, I believe. Catch up on it. It's similar to Christian Andriacchio. He didn't take his own life, and it was written off that way from the jump. Investigators were told that's what happened over the phone, so that is what they walked into that situation thinking. They had their mind made up. Miriam, it's Aaron Shane Key. I just brought his mom up for a few minutes, and we'll be doing another update stream next week. And let's see, Miriam, what you missed in this one is I shared my story about what got me into true crime, and just kind of talked about getting back to basics and remembering what investigating is all about. After the new year, you guys, I think I have some fun things planned. If you're interested, I have talked about it. I know it's really noisy. I'm sorry. I've talked about it in Discord. Just kind of going through the different steps of the investigation process, and just kind of me sharing with you guys the things that I've learned, different techniques and different things like that. And, just kind of learn together and maybe be more productive on these cases and really put 180%, 200% into these cases and the victims and just doing our part. Um, I think if we all pull together and remember why we're here, and it's a question that I ask myself daily just to kind of keep myself grounded and just kind of check myself and make sure that my heart and head are still in the right place. This is going into death investigation. That's not a career to be taken lightly. It's not always cut and dry, like, yes, this person drowned or this person was shot. I mean, there's so many other things that go into it. So, but I appreciate everyone for being here. I appreciate those who joined membership. Um, I definitely appreciate the super chats. And I look forward to next week with you guys. I will tell you after Lisa's stream, I got a good one coming up. Um, It'll probably be Thursday, and in the Christmas spirit, I named it, Do You See What I See? And instead of talking about the Christmas Carol, we're going to be talking about what it would look like if we all peeked in the Wells window, just their lifestyle in general. So prepare for that. Everyone have a good Friday evening. Remember to hug your loved ones. Be kind to people, even if they're not your favorite people in the world. You never know what day is going to be your last. It could be over in the blink of an eye. So just keep that in mind as you deal with people in your everyday life. And I will be talking to all of you soon. Love you guys.